grabbed my hand and we started going through the spirals of my DNA. And I was, looking at everything. And as we would go through a strand, I could feel it like stroke over my skin. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's just amazing. And we're going, and it's super fast. We're going really, really fast. And we get down to this one spot. And he just stops, like, hitting a wall. And he says, do you see me? And I'm like, well, yeah, you're everywhere. Of course I see you. And he's like, no. And he points to this spot in my DNA. And he's like, right there. Do you see me? And I looked, and I did. And it was in that part of our DNA that they call junk DNA, that we don't know what that DNA does. And it was funny because it had...
Okay. You know what that sounds like to me? God of the gaps. God of the gaps. God of the gaps. Like the atom that got put... the atom, they said the atom should, the particles should fly off in the space because you got negative and positive particles going around in the atom, and they don't repel each other and go off in outer space. They say, what keeps the atom together? Christ. But then we find out that the force that holds the positive and negative atoms, subatomic particles together, is the same force that caused the atomic bomb explosion in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So if that's true, Christ is... does that mean Christ is what destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki? God of the gaps, the junk DNA. What happened? What are the people who had near-death experiences gonna say when we find out that junk DNA really does have a purpose, and it's not God, but some other natural function?
It hadn't actually been that long ago that I had read about junk DNA, and he was right there, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Really?
You're in me? And he's like,
really?
Yes, I'm your father, just like your father is your father.
What happens if nuclear radiation damages that part of your junk DNA? Does God leave you?
Father, you can say he's not, but we could do testing and figure out that he is.
Does God get damaged? Because you can damage and change DNA with radiation poisoning.
It's your biological father, whether you want to admit it or not, and I'm your father, whether people want to admit it or not. And it just blew me away. And so I knew at that point that if we went past that, then I was staying. And I'm like, all right, I'm in. Let's...
Did this woman believe in Jesus? That's my main question. She never mentions Jesus once.
Stay, And I felt like so loved and accepted, like I didn't have to do another thing. A lot of us have this idea that you've got to constantly be doing God to be loved. You have to be doing something that measures up, and it wasn't like that. He loved me because he made me, and he adored me.
He loves you because he made you? I can think of a deeper love than that. He made you because he loves you. Think about that. He made you because he loves you. You were in his mind, but he loved you so much that he made you. That sounds more appropriate.
Me, and he thought me up, and I remember thinking, how long did he think of me? Because I thought of my children before I had them. And
I wish God loved everybody, even the lost. But if you hear Paul Washer and John Piper and A.W. Pink, God hates the damned. God hates the unelect. And he chose, according to them, he chooses who to love and who not to love. He can turn on and off his love like a light switch.